All right, so we're going to go to the Hakavanot here. We're in a really important, I think, lesson. I don't see how far. I see how far we could go here today. Let's start. Let's start this lesson. Let me bring this up a little bit better. And okay, we're going to be on page Tuf Ayin Aleph. Gam Yisbar Hakavanot Sarva Kriat Shemah. So I think it's an important idea for us to understand what's going on, and it starts on number Kuf Tes Zayin, Tes Vav rather, and it says V'hi Nizboyer Ki Al Yedecha Tefillin Shal Yad Shehi Bebriya. So here we're talking about what he calls the Klaus Olomos. Shal Yedecha Benachat Tefillin Shal Yad Misnaknim Mamshichin Mochin Lechitzonius Olam Abriya. Vayedecha Tefillin Shal Rosh Shehi Betzilus. Vayedecha Nachas Tefillin Shal Rosh Besaktim Mamshichin Mochin Lechitzonius Olam Atzilus. So this is bringing Mochin into them, and he's lumping these two together here. Not say Mochin Panimius, it makes Mochin Panimius the or Panimi. Ba'ofen Sha'ad Yedecha Benachat Tefillin Shal Yad V'Shal Rosh Na'asim Mochin the Panimius Olam Abriya V'Olam Atzilus. V'gam or Makif Shalachem, also when you say the brachos V'kein Na'asim Mochim Al Yedecha B'brachol or Makif Shal Olam Abriya V'Olam Atzilus. So we know about this. This is the Chitzonius, and bringing Panimius into the Chitzonius. He says Kufiyot Tes Iba Bechina Chitzonius Olomos. So we're just speaking, he's just talking about the tefillin now, the or penimim v'lor hamagiv, kol hu the b'chin chitzonius, all has to do with chitzonius olamos, shalom b'briya v'olam etzilos. Now he wants to talk about the penimius. He says v'amnam, that is the penimius versus chitzonius. V'amnam atachab yedecha b'kriyat shema she'omrim b'yotzer. Now he wants to focus on yotzer. Now the way that he was been saying it before is that you're able to affect the tikkun or move everything up by saying, say for example, the karbanos that will move, combine kitzonis benimius of Asiya, and the same thing is true of the Pasukah de Zimra. But now we're in yotzer. And he says, but when you come to Yotzer, the key ingredient Yotzer is the Kriat Shemah she'omrim b'Yotzer. Or ana mamshichin u'meridim mochim pnimiyim the or pnimi b'bechinas pnimius olamos. That's so much a use of the word pnimi and pnimius. It gets confusing, but I think I'll straighten it out. Ana mamshichin u'meridim. So what we're doing is we're causing the stream as a mochin panimim the or panimi, so we're bringing the panimius of the or panimi shall panimius olamos of the panimius olamos rather than the kitzonius. So we're bringing or panimi into that. Shehem and neshamos kediska la'el. So these are called the neshamos. So it's the panimius of it. The panimius olamos nikra neshamos. So he said v'achar kach v'achar she'al yedecha b'kriyat shema. Now you said the kriyat shema hamshachnu oros mochin panimim v'olamos panimim. So we're bringing the light, just to repeat that idea. Or maki. So we're bringing the or panimi into the panimius of the olamos. Of which olamos? Oz b'tefilas amida, the tefilas chakras, anamam shichan the olamos panimim shehim and the shamos as a oros v'hamochin the makifim shalachem. So we're bringing the mochin in, which parts? We're bringing in the mochin, the makifim into them as well. So Birchas Avos, the Rosh Hashanah, he says there's a place over there where you see this. He said B'milas Yisrael, when he talks about the word Yisrael, B'milas Elokeinu Be'elokei Botzenu, Yesh Siul D'Zera B'ayin Sham. There's really somebody help you understand this better. Sham Yesh Chizuk Al Drush K'shkosov Kan Harav B'inyan Kriat Shemah Tfilas Amida. So the Kriat Shema mamshichin as the mochin the benimim the olamos benimim. So get those words together. We're bringing so the Kriat Shema brings in the penimius of the olamos benimim. So, but really he's talking about the two worlds. I believe he's talking about Bria and Yetzira. And Atzilus. So you come to the Mida, Mamshichin, Mochin, Mekifin, the Olamas of Benimim. So that we're bringing the Mekifim in because when we get to Shemona Esrei. So that is the Panimis, we're bringing the Or Panimi into another sequence of Al Yedei Tefilas Amida, Mamshichin, Mochin, Mekifim. So here we're bringing the Mekifim into the Panimius of the Olamos. So now we have Yitzira and Yitzia going into Bria, so we know about that. Let's see a little bit more. He said, V'hine b'defilas Yotzer, so we get to Yotzer. Alo la'olam ha'bria, hein olam ha'asiyah, v'hein olam ha'yitzira. So we know that these come up at this time. So the Bechidas Malchus B'Tiferes, and so it is that Asiya and Yitzira are correspond to Malchus and Tiferes, Asher Ba'archin, Nikra Olam Chasiya Malchus, V'Nukva Dezah, also called by that name. V'Olam Yitzira is called Zer Anpin, it's called the Vok, it's called Tiferes, it has lots of different names too. Boni Beria, Ba'archin, Nikra Olam Habriya Bonim, said Bonim Habriya, so B'nei Habriya, excuse me, the children of Bria. So you look at it relatively speaking, Nikra Olam Bria Ima, we could call Ima Bria, and we could Lefichach Olam B'Chasiya Nikra Nuk. V'Olam, that's the girl child. V'Olam Yitzira Nikra Zav Tiferes as Heim Bonim LaOlam Bria. That's the children of Olam Bria, which is Ima. V'Hi Nikras Imam V'Heim Nikrayim Banahu. Now he says, so we want to bring them up. So we want to bring them up. With this upward movement, will bring about a yichud. El iman shehi olam abriya, so we bring that up. V'kemen she'olam asiya olam yitzira. Shneichen nekroim zun. Together they're called by the name of zun, the olam abriya. So they're called, the zun of olam abriya. The strichen the alos as shenech and the man, so therefore we have to bring them both up, the children up together. Le'ima shehi olam abriya. So he says, so he goes on. Kedei the atam shema'alim as olam asiya v'olam yitzira leman the olam abriya. What's the reason for this? He says sheyidno lechem mochim penimim, the or penimi is the order to be able to bring to them Mochim panimim to or panimi. So let's see what he means. He said mochim panimim the or panimi. Says kadesh olam abriya yitain mochin the panimius olam asiya the panimius olam yitzira, is so that they should able to bring in the panimius into those worlds. Now, what does he mean by that? Didn't we already bring in the panimius as a result of saying the karbanos and as a result of saying the Pasukah de Zimra? I'm not sure. So the bechinas osam and the neshama shehem panimius olamos, and the panimius olamos shehem nikroim ba'archin neshama. But before this can happen, Gadesha olam abriya yuchul that says mochin panimim the panimius olam yitzira panimim olam asiya tzrichen techila, which you have to have something happen up above. Lomer Kriat Shemah. So then first you say Lomer Kriat Shemah Ayedei Ken Liyachiv the Zavek is Abba Ve'Iba the Olam Atzilus. So this is what happens, is that when you say the Kriat Shemah, it causes a yichud to place not in Olam Abriya, but in Olam Yitzira, Olam Atzilus. The says Mochin the Zunda Atzilus, and what happens is it brings Mochin into Olam Atzilus. Kasher Abba Ve'Ima Misyachdim Mizdavin B'Kriyat Shema, and this Abba Ve'Ima make a yichud in Kriyat Shema. Mizecha Hazivim Nemshachim Mochin the Zunda Olam Atzilus, it causes Mochin to come into the Zun of Atzilus. Now let me read this again because I get a little confused. Kasher Abba Ve'Ima Misyachdim Mizdavin B'Kriyat Shema, so you cause a yichud to take place in Kriyat Shema as a result of Kriyat Shema. Mizach HaZivug, from this causes a zivug nimshachim mochin the zun to olam atzilus, the zun to olam atzilus. Now I'm trying to think of how does zun get into atzilus, so let's see some more. Vayidei came, so through this, v'ayidei shazun the atzilus mekablen mishafim mochin bezivug abba ve'ima, so we're talking about the zun of atzilus. The yichud that takes place in the abba ve'ima of atzilus. Okay, we're going to have a little break here, and just a word from our sponsor, Hashem Yisbarach. We wish Zeicha to be able to understand this this concept, this panemius here. Here we go back again. Okay, so here we are, and it says Ava be'ima the yum shach shefa Ava be'ima debriya. So we're going to cause shefa to come from Ava be'ima into Ava be'ima oz hazun the chatzilus atzman. So now what you did, you make a yichud. The Kriat Shema causes a yichud in olam atzilus, even though the Kriat Shema is taking place in olam abriya, but it goes all the way up, and it causes a yichud higher than that. Az hazun the tzilus atzman mashpiyim mochim mochim, so it is able to be mashpiyah from the mochim shefa la'abba ve'ima the olam abriya. So therefore it brings down and it causes a shefa to come to abba ve'ima in beriya. Shizdavu gam hem, and it causes them to also have a yichud. V'hayedeh she'abba ve'ima the beriya mekamdim shefa mezun the tzilus. That causes them to make a yichud too. And what happens when they make that yichud? It says mochin the zon asher sham. It brings mochin into zone that are over there in the Abba Ve'ima of Bria. The Abba Ve'ima the Bria mizdavgim k'dei lahamshech mochin the zon she'alu la'olam abriya that have already come up there. So he says sheheba b'chidah chayitzira v'chasiyah she'alu v'nichlalu ata sham k'nizkar. But this is the concept of these two. This is the Yitzira and the Sia that came up to that place and now being combined. He said, "V'chazon she'alu la'olam abriya." So now it's being fed. V'nichlala b'chinas man la'abba ve'ima, and it's all part of the man that goes up to Abba ve'ima, even I guess into even olam atzilus. Heim olam rasiya shehu nuk malchus. They're getting the shefa now from the Abba Ve'ima, both which is coming from the Abba Ve'ima, I guess from Atzilus, which is causing a yichud, and the Abba Ve'ima in Bria, which is feeding them. So how do we get the strength to be able to do this? So that we could have the strength to be able to move the shefa. It's the vino b'mitzvos Kriat Shema. So, and it's the vino b'mitzvos mitzvahs the same in the Torah that called Kriat Shema. So in order to be able to make it possible for these worlds to receive, that is the worlds of Vasiya Yitzira, to be able to receive from Bria, it's necessary to say the Kriat Shema, and the Kriat Shema is a bechina of Dibur. The mitzvah that crows Kriat Shema, he shayachas the Dibur. The ain't masses. It's not an action. It's not physical action. It's words. The mitzvahs Kriat Shema, he Dibur ve'ain't mitzvahs maises. The saknim al yedechem b'mitzvahs Kriat Shema. Olamos benimim below olamos kitzonim, so therefore we're back in the same rule. So also, by the way, this mitzvah by bringing this mitzvah, doing this mitzvah, we have the power, therefore, to cause the zivud to come together. We have now the ability to be able to bring koach by rising he says, by saying the Kriat Shema, we bring power into Atzilus. But the zavik is Abba Ve'ima the olam Atzilus, and cause that man to go up there in the form of our dibur and make a yichud. So that they should be able to make a yichud. And he says like this, the sequence is at first it brings mochim into the zone of Atzilus. And from here it brings mochim into Abba Ve'ima the Bria, because that's where they're sitting. But the buyer Indians, let me try to explain this a little bit more, he says. The buyer Lano Indian Oris of Benibim, the Indian Oris of Mekifim, Shemekabdam Alomo B'Meshach Sedach Tefillah Shal Tefillah Shachris, who Mukroch the buyer Po Tzas Min Kavanas Kriat Shema. So let's just talk a little about the Kriat Shema. Now, what I know about Kriat Shema before listening to this drush is that the Kriat Shemah brings in the Vok of godless. That's what I know. It brings out the Zat of godless. So that's what I know about it. He's talking a different direction. He says, okay, once again, we have a time for a commercial break. Listen to the words of the great Ari as he's explaining the rules of Hashem that Hashem Yisborach has given us. So here we go. We're back again. So he said, let's talk about Kriat Shemah a little bit. So you can understand B'mashin is boyer ki Yaakov yesh lo shtei noshim. Yaakov has two wives. Now, this is like getting into a different section. Kavanas Rav al parts of Zan Nishanikra Gam B'Shem Yaakov. So he just to help us out a little bit, he's going to call Zak Yaakov V'yesh Zah Shtei no. He has that Zak, also known as Yaakov, has two wives. He said V'Shtei Anokvos Sheyesh Zah. They're called Leah and Rachel. So he's bechinas Leah, he bechinas a kesher to tefillin shel rosh. Now let's think about that. The kesher to tefillin shel rosh, which is in the form of a dalid, really refers to Leah. Leah merumezes bekesher shel tefillin shel rosh shehi betzuras dalid. So he said sheba olam atzilus, and this is olam atzilus. The Leah merumezes bekesher to tefillin shel rosh sheba olam atzilus. Now you're in Atzilus, right? You brought all this man up to Atzilus in the Kriat Shemah. V'yesh lo parts of Shalom me'eser spheres k'noida. Now we know that in other places you see that Leah doesn't have 10 spheros because she has to borrow. I think she has to borrow a Yisod or an I forget. But she had to borrow it from Yaakov, or from, I'm not sure where she borrows it from. I forget, maybe from Yisroel. V'Leah yesh lo parts of Shalom as a sphere. So Leah has 10 complete spheres. That's what he says here. But now, at the time of saying Kriat Shemah, Ana ma'alam is Rachel. We're going to elevate Rachel. That's when Rachel, going back to our arm tefillin again, that's where Rachel starts to move up. Ana ma'alam es Rachel nuktazer anpin ba'olam abriya la'olam atzilus by doing this. Once again, so he says, Anu Ato, he says, that is at the time of saying Kriat Shemah, we're moving Rachel out of Bria. So he said, remember her? She's the Nakuda Shal Malchus Asha Omedet Be'echel Koda Gadash, and the Bria, she's right up at the top of Bria, wants to come back into Yitzilus. Rachel Oida Ata Be'Kriat Shemah, so this Rachel, the Rachel that's all coming up now from Kriat Shemah, the Olam Atzilus. He the Kudus of Malchus that you read it Belilah. That's that little dot of Malchus that went down into the Bria. Behechlu Koda Gadash and Ba'olam Bria. She goes into that place. Va'olach ba'ad Leah and this Keres, and she goes up until Leah that we've been talking about here. V'zu Rachel ha'oila b'Kriyat Shema. So this same self-same Rachel that's going up the Kriyat Shema. Mehechlu Koda Gadash and the Bria La'olam Atzilus ad Makom Leah. So this Rachel, where does she go? She winds up going up to the place of Leah. Now, I don't think I've heard this before. Shehu sod oz dalad echad. So Rachel comes, that dot, it comes and joins herself to Leah. So Rachel ola ad Leah, shehu sod hadalad shal kesher tefillin shal rosh. Now, the only thing I know about this is that during the nighttime, when Rachel goes down into Bria, Leah fills that spot. So maybe it's not so hard for her to get to Leah, but here she says that Leah represents the place of the tefillin in the back of the neck. So she's got to go up all the way up there. I was just wondering about that. Now this is a remiss to the letter Daled that you find in the word Echad. So he said, and this incorporate, she incorporated Rachel nechlelas yachad ima parts of Shaleah. So now you have that little dot of Rachel is now part of Leah. Mischaveris oz osar dalad imazah. At that point, the dalad is making a yichud with their anpin. The la'achar Rachel nechlelas yachad im Leah besod oz dalad ve'echad. Mischaveris hadalad tevus echad ima zer anpin. So now you see what happens is this makes a yichud with the ach, the first two letters, and the third letter. He says Shehu Sod Echad, which is the secret of Echad. Now he's got to explain this a little bit, so we have some help here. This is the secret of the concept of Echad. Now what do we have here? We have Leah, Rachel, going up as a dot, I thought, and joining with the Dalet of Leah. Now maybe she did, maybe she grew bigger, I don't know. Let's see, Osius Ach, Romezes Alazer Anpin, Sheyesh Lo Teisha Spheres Mekasib Ad Malchut. So here we have a yichud taking place, and the yichud, it sounds like a yichud, so let me go on a little bit more. So the letters Ach, those 9 letters refer to Ser Anpin, Lo Teisha Spheres Mekasib Ad Malchut. Now exactly, if you counted including Ad Va'ad B'klal, if you include everything, that would be 10 spheres, but he says it's 9. So it must be that's what's in between Keser and Malchus. I'm not sure exactly how he counted, but at any rate, that's what Zer Anpin is always called the 9, because Zer Anpin himself is 9. If you consider that Malchus is a part of Zer Anpin, that's what I would think. V'gan remez yesh b'zeh Zer Anpin hu ach shal hanuk, so he's the brother of the Nuk. Shahar zun yachtav hein ben ubas, because if you look at them together, they're children. They're the children, male and female. V'oz dalad romemes al hanuk, so the dalad is a remez to the Nuk. V'oz na'asim b'tevis echad achtus gemura, so therefore what you're doing is you're making a yichud, you're making a complete oneness out of the Zachar v'Nuk by combining Ach and Dalet. Na'asim mayim nukvim al Abba v'Ima datzilus. What does this produce? By saying this word Echad, you're causing them to come together and coming up to mayim nukvim to the zun of Atzilus, or to Atzilus at any rate. The zun mischavrim shedechem yachda b'tevis Echad. So now you see this is the power of the word Echad. So now we have a pattern here of what's going on. So now as they receive the man from Zun, they also make a yichud on that word that causes them, this Mayim Nukvin, causes them to make a yichud. Moridim v'noistim mochim penimim to Zer Anpin v'Leah. So now they bring down mochim penimim into Zer Anpin and Leah. V'machazivu shal Abba v'Ima the olam atzilus. So now you have a yichud that's taking place for Abba v'Ima. You use it v'yordan namshichan v'nolden namochim to penimim hein lezav hein leah. Now he says that this is the yichud that's taking place, Zah and Leah. He said, Akam mochim v'shaychem the Rachel. But wait a minute, what about Rachel? Rachel is the Karasabayas, they don't come down at the time of Kriat Shemah. So all you get here is just, let's just read it backwards again. He says, shel Abba v'Ima the olam atzilus, Yordin mamshichem noldin mochin penimim hein lezun hein leah. So now both of them have mochin penimim ak hamochin v'shaychem the Rachel, einem Yordin, they don't go down. Hein boim yordim hein einem yordim be'ezim miras Kriat Shemah. So the mochin for Rachel, for her to really develop, has not come in yet. That doesn't come from the Kriat Shemah. V'atam lezecher shebe'ez Kriat Shemah lo yordim mochin the Rachel. She'adayim he bebechidas nekuda ve'ein lo parts of the kabel mochin. So she's still just that little dot up by Leah. Leah's getting all the action. At the time you say the Kriat Shemah, Rochel Choya Adayim Rak Nekuda Acha Belvad is only one dot. The ain't of ein law under of the parts of Shalom. For the Chen Ki Adayim Ein Yechola the Kabel Bezivug Abba Ve'ima as the Mochem B'Shaychem Alachol. So therefore, she's not able to receive Mizivug Abba Ve'ima as the Mochem B'Shaychem Alachol. So he said, V'lechen V'keven Sharachol and Nana Yechola the Kabel Atach the Mochem Shalah. So since she cannot get her Mochem now, right? Just at the Kriat Shemah part, she still hasn't developed. He says, Mochem Shalah, Lefichach Mochem, excuse me, Ashayach and the Rachel that really refer to Rachel, Nisharim Lamala Im Hadalad the Echad Shehi Leah. So it remains in Leah. Nisharim Lamala B'Chatzilus, there's still Netzilus Im Os Hadalad the Fevis Echad which is the combination of Leah with Zer Anpin. Parts of Leah, Visham Nisharim Mochin the Rachel B'Tayr Pikado. So now these Mochin for Rachel are still sitting there. They're still waiting to get together with her. Okay, so we have another break in the action here, and let's bring back our sponsor, Hashem Yisbarach, and that He should bless us to be able to understand this and put it into practice, that we could use it. So we'll wait here for Rebbe. A little bit longer wait. Let's listen to this. Oh, here we go. Okay, so we're down here. Let's take Kuf Ayin Bet. So he says, Neshar in Lamala im Hadalad Echad, the Echad. So now this Echad, which is a combination of Zer Anpin and Leah, Rachel's there too, but only says she's a dot. So the Dalad the Echad, which is Leah, Nishar in Lamala Be'atzilus im Oz Dalad the Tevis Echad. She parts of Leah. V'sham Nisharim Amochin the Rachel B'Tayres Pikadon. So this gives you the whole. So here's Rachel. V'kasher anu oimrim Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus L'Olam Bo'ed. This gives you a shot in this. V'kasher ba'anem Mamshichan there's a Mochin B'Pazit Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus L'Olam Bo'ed. Hakol Hu B'Sod B'Chinas Leah. All of this that we're talking about is Leah. Oz Mamshichin Mochim rock the parts of Leah, Kevin Sha'ata rock Leah yesh parts of Shalom. Ve'edach Rachel Adaim lo Nishlam partsufa, but with Rachel we still do not have a completeness for her parts of. Now I think, listen, I beg your pardon that we should really try to finish this. It's just another really page and a half if we can, and will be the next section after that, which is also looks like it's very interesting. So we get a bracha here from the Marchu. He said, Rav Mordechai Shravi said, when Rav Mordechai Shravi says, Zuhi Birchas Bracha Memarchu Shenitzka Lahavin as Zos Bamitos. So there's a lot here. So let's go a little bit further. Nimsaki oz al yedech v'zivu da abba v'iba. So now you have a yichud of abba v'yotza the vizah. Yedech v'zivu shel abba v'iba ha'naasa b'tevis echad. So now there's a yichud taking place between abba v'ima as a result of that. The mayim that comes off mayim nukvim. Yordin mochin penimim the zer anpin v'leleya. So now you have the mok of Yordin mamshichin mochin penimim aim l'zav aim l'leya. And because of this great powerful light, and the tzilus be'es the miras of Kriat Shemah. At the time we say the Kriat Shemah mechazivug shal abba ve'ibad the olam tzilus, because of that yichud in tzilus. Naasa asiya v'yitzira gam came mayim nukvim alabria. It causes them to make mayim nukvim to bria. Vayidei kain lemshachim gam. Let's get this understood. Kain mochim penimim la'abba ve'ibad olam abriya. V'az olam rasiya v'nikra ba'archim nuk. V'olam yitzira nikra ba'archim zah. Shnechem na'asim mayim nukvim el abba ve'ibad olam abriya. Now he says here that because of the flow of mayim nukvim, kain mochim the penimim the abba ve'ibad olam abriya. They receive these mochim, and this causes an aliyah of mayim nukvim from Zer Anpin and Malchus, which are also in Bria at this time. Kasha olam asiya v'olam yitzira shehem zun ma'alim mayim nukvim el abba ve'ibad olam abriya. Az mizdavim gam abba ve'ibad olam abriya. So he's saying that parenthetically that they're also moving up, and they'll cause that yikud too. Yordin dechem b'mochin, and it calls them bezig of abba ve'ibad the bria. Yordin mochin the olam yitzira v'olam chasir shebe'archim chem zon kanal. Gam the or penimi v'or makif b'mochin sheyordim dechem al zon ma'abba ve'ibad the olam abria. Hey mochin the penimim v'mochin makifim. So what's coming down are both mochin penimim and mochin makifim. Ki kach kol kach hu ki kol kach hu v'chatam. Shemachazivah the Abba ve'ibad the Bria nimshachim mochin benimim nemkifim ve'elo mechazivah the Abba ve'ibad the Tzilus nimshachim rak mochin benimim bilvad hu The reason why you have this happening in Bria, that you're getting both the Makif and the Benimi. It says Mochim Penimim Bilvad Batzilus, only to bring Mochim Penimim into Atzilus. Kamo L'seis Mochim Penimim and Bekifa Bebria, just like that. Let me see what he said. I don't understand that. Ki shir ha'avoda ha'nitzrachas l'zivug as abba be'ima k'dei lahamshech mochim penimim bilvad ba'olam atzilus. So he says that the action, or what we have to do, in order to be able to bring mochim penimim into into atzilus, who mamash shakel kashir ha'avoda ha'nitzrachas l'hamshech ma'abba be'ima debria as a mochim the penimim yachad in the mochim mekifim. So I'm not sure that I understood this. So once again he says, I'm sorry, we're running out of time. So shir ha'avoda ha'nitzrach. Whoops, I had lost. Yeah, but I didn't even know it. So let's go back to where I'm over here. Let's go to number Kuf Pei Daled. He says the says Mochim Penimim Bilvad Fatzilos Kamo the says Mochim Penimim the Bekifa Bebria. So the same action that causes Mochim and Penimim to Mochim Penimim to come into Bria, Ki Shir HaVoda HaNitzrechas L'Zaveg as Abba Ve'ima Kedei Lahamshech Mochim Penimim Bilvad Ba'olam Batzilus. So what do you have to do? Who Mamish Shakel, you can balance that out. Kashir Havoda and Nitzrachas Lahamshech Ma'abba Ve'ima Debria as a Mochim the Penimim Yachad and the Mochim Mekivim. So the same action causes Penimius and Mochim Penimi to go into Atzilus, and also Penimim and Mekifim in Olam Abriya. Shrecha b'Mochim the Penimim the Atzilus. Oram Godol Ma'od is a tremendously powerful light. K'mocham b'Mochim the Olam Abriya. Habenimim b'Mekifim gam yachad, like you have, say for example, the Olam Abriya, we have the Penimim the Mekim gam yachad. V'zachem b'Zivug Abba v'Iba the Olam Atzilus. When you make a yichud there, Mamshichim rak Mochim Penimim v'L'umos zu mizdaveg, I guess. Abba v'Ima the Bria Mamshichim Mochim Penimim v'Hem Mochim Petkifim. So it means that the Mochim Penimim of Olam Atzilus is strong enough to bring in shefa both from the makif and from the penimi, the or makif and penimi from into Olam Abriya. The nimsa the fia now. He call arba olomos abiyah bebechinas etzonia shalahem shehem klalos olomos. Yesh lechem mochim penimi the or penimi. They all have now mochim penimi the or penimi. Yesh to call echad bechem mochim penimi. Bor makif. They also have a makif became lekol olomos abiyah bebechinas kitzoni usam. Yesh lechem or makif bezechad nesakim ayadecha b'mitzvahs ma'asir shehem yifne. Yito Yada Tzitzis Tefillin Shal Yada Tefillin Shal Rosh. That sets up all the world. Heim Ubikosechem, they bring in the Penimim and the Maki. Ubechinas and the Shamas of the Bechinas of the Shamas Shal Olam Zabiyah. So we want to get the Neshamas of these worlds, which is a higher level. Shehem Penimios Olamos. Shepenimios Olamos Nikra Neshamos, that's what's called. Yesh lechem gam kein mochin the or penimi, so they're going to also have or penimi. Gam the penimi is olamos abiyah shehem the shamos yesh lechem mochin penimi or maki b'shlosh olamos biyah, and you're going to also have that the or maki for the olamos biyah or maki yesh rak shlosh olamos biyah, but the makif only comes in those three lower worlds. Chutz ma'olam atzilus, with the exception of atzilus, it does not have a makif. Masha ein came ba'olam neshama shal atzilus, shehem b'bechinas penimius olamas atzilus. He said b'ki ein sham b'bechinas neshamas rak mochin the or penimi. They only have the or penimi, which comes to result as a result of the mind nukvin, which bred a yichud abba v'ima in atzilus. Shesham ba'olam penimi shal olam atzilus yesh mochin rak or penimi b'vat bilti or makif, and there is no makif. Aval the olam apinimia shall olam atzilus, but the penimios shehem bechinas and neshamos ein lechem oros and mekifim. They don't have along with them the oros penimim, don't have their accompaniment of the mekifim because who hadayim be'ez Kriat Shemah. So here, all of this that we're talking about is at the time of saying Kriat Shemah, which is in Olam Abriya. V'achar kach al yedech hamidach b'tefillah shmona esrei. Now, in order to bring in the makifim into Olam Atzilus, you have to say into Kriat Shemah. V'achar kach shekashanim is palan tefillas amida b'tefillas shakris. Na'asim gam came bechinas oros and makifim the mochin. We're making also the oros makifim of the mochin. He said umamashichem as the mochin and makifim the oros and makifim shal benimias olamos. And now we're bringing the mochin benimias the Olam Atzilus into Olam Atzilus. Sheheba bechinas the neshamos. It's the neshama of Olam Makila benimsa. Shahata kavar yesh as kol amochin habenimim v'amochin makifim the kol olamos hein l'rabia habenimim v'hein l'rabia haitzani. So he said v'adayim ayin sham. So he said, look over there ba'arucha inin makifim the benimim b'zoch. Baruch Hashem Shechanei. So then he writes, Baruch Hashem Shechanei Ad Ata. He's giving the scheme now. Ligmor v'l'sayim drush sheni v'drush tefillas hashachar. So now I've said the second one. He said, "He ranson Hashem Yisbarach Yechainin Oisi Holo Shenizka l'chaber I'll call Kisvei Marchu Keini Hiratzon." Amen. And I go along with that, and we'll have to think about this. What's playing here? This is Baruch Fleischman.